especially when it comes to letting go, especially when it comes to trying to heal yourself, what you find when you turn that lens inward is that woof, there's a lot in there. There might be so much anger, so much sadness, so much anxiety, and it'll come out in layers.
And that's what is terrifying to people. So many people think, I don't want to go there. I don't want to meet that sadness. I don't want to touch that grief. I don't want to touch
Yeah.
that anger. Why should they want to?
Because when you turn that lens inward and you move towards it, once you get through it, you reach your freedom. I think that's the key element is that if you are someone who wants to be peaceful as opposed to anxious, or wants to have mental space as opposed to mental clutter, you have to face what's inside of you. And it may get quite stormy. And it is also a lot easier to do it with a process, right? Like whether your thing is meditating, whether your thing is therapy, whatever it is that you do to cultivate yourself, journaling, prayer, there's so many things that you can do to cultivate yourself. Um, but using some sort of process to help you through all that muck that's inside the mind, I think it's pretty life-changing.
Several people here have asked, what kind of meditation is it that you actually do?
Yeah, so I'm gonna write the website down here. So I do
It's fast.
Vipassana. Yeah, Vipassana meditation. And it's a type of meditation that originates from the Buddhist teaching, and it's been held in Burma for thousands of years. And in the early 1970s, it started spreading again throughout India and then eventually started spreading around the world. And it's a really beautiful technique. People go from all different traditions because it's a type of technique that the purpose of it is to help you free your mind, to help you cultivate happiness, for you to, just like live a new life. But it's not about like changing religions or becoming Buddhist or anything like that. People go who are, who are rabbis, people who are nuns, and, within the Catholic tradition, you see people from all walks of life, people who are Muslim, people who are atheists. They all go for a technique because they realize, oh, right, if I do these particular practices, then different parts of my mind will strengthen over time. And they see the results, so they keep coming back.
And Diego would say that he and his wife both do this and
Yeah.
how it's changed their relationship, their understanding of one another, what it means to be in relationship. I learn a lot from his postings on Instagram about what it means to be a partner, even though I'm not in a partnership, but you can be in a partnership in a whole bunch of different ways. It might not be romantic, but you can be in a partnership with your adult children. You can be in a partnership at work. You can be a partnership in, out and trying to change the world. And you talk a lot about kind of the ebb and flow of partnerships and why we need to kind of go deeper there and understand ourselves in partnership.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I noticed that when I started working on myself and I started trying to befriend all of that anxiety and that sadness that was clogged up inside of me, the one of the most like immediate effects of that was that it started deepening my relationship with my wife. And our relationship was a bit of a hurricane. Right? Like before we started meditating, it was tough. We had been together for about 6 years, and then we started meditating. And there were a lot of times in that 6 year period where we almost didn't make it. We would like break up, come back together. We didn't really know how to treat each other well or even treat ourselves well. So when we started building self-awareness through meditation, it just like, to use that word again, it almost opened a whole new chapter in the story of our relationship where slowly we started having more patience with each other. Slowly we stopped just pointing the finger on each other because before it was like if I didn't feel good, I had to figure out a way to make it her fault. And the same thing with her. She didn't feel good. It had to be my fault. And we started realizing, oh, actually, each emotion that we feel, it's not necessarily something that we need to attach ourselves to. It could be as simple as I woke up in the morning and I don't feel good, but it was because I didn't eat well the day before, or I didn't, sleep as many hours as I wanted to. But even so, the mind will still try to make it your partner's fault in some way. So when you build self-awareness and you start using that self-awareness to open up the channels of communication between the two of you, it it creates this like almost buffer so that okay, I don't feel good, and let me tell my wife I don't feel good. And that way we both know, okay, we can step up for each other, and also to just like move around each other a little more gently, because there's a little storm passing through. And when we're both able to hold that space for each other, and we both are aware, like, okay, she doesn't feel good, let me step up, let me try to take some things off of her plate, it just works wonders. And we're not perfect or anything like that, but we definitely argue a lot less than we used to.
I love that because it's a deeper understanding of the other, whoever the other is, and also releasing the other from something being their fault that actually isn't, right? That was one of the things that I loved about you telling me about that. It's about saying, I didn't sleep well, so I might be a little cranky this morning,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
well, and therefore I'm going to be sharp this morning. And so that when that comes out, then the other person doesn't feel like, uh-oh, what did I do? It's my fault. So it's kind of self-knowledge, self-awareness, then its effect on the world in your own home and then the world. Because I think all of your work,
Hmm.
it's self-exploration, self-empowerment, but what is your hope that it does for the world? Because it's not all about, oh, I just want this is my self-care and I'm narcissistic and it's just me here, because you believe
No.
that this radical transformation in all of your books then changes how we walk in the world.
Yeah. I'm glad that you point to that, because I think, I mean, I just wrote an essay about that the other day on my Substack, and I think there's this
That's his
misconception.
newsletter. That's his newsletter on Substack. So you can go and subscribe to his newsletter. Just in case if you didn't know about that. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I think there's this misconception in the wellness world where um people had negated their own needs for so long
Yeah.
that we went from one extreme of forgetting about ourselves to just to focusing on ourselves, but then that has been misconceived with selfishness.
Yeah.
And I think it's really not that. It's like focusing on yourself doesn't necessarily mean that you're a selfish person, because what we want to strive for is a balance where you're treating yourself well, but you're not exhausting, you're not like becoming totally self-centered, or you're giving to others, but you're not burning yourself out in the process. It's a matter of like giving in a balanced way where you help others, but you're also taking care of yourself. And I think finding that healthy medium is really what this whole wellness world is about. And I find that we need to keep cultivating that as a place to strive for, finding that middle path. And I think a lot of my work, what I point to is that not only is healing possible, but it's necessary if we want to build a better world, because there are just so many times where we have these beautiful ideals and beautiful goals, but if we don't deal with the root of the mind, if we don't deal with these patterns of craving and aversion, these patterns of ego, and really this like self-centeredness is often ingrained in the mind. When we do get power and we do change things, we quickly end up recreating the thing that we initially were fighting against. And I see that happening all the time, where we will twist these ideals that were noble to begin with, but because we haven't healed ourselves, our hurt, our trauma gets reflected onto the things that we're creating in our lives. So I feel like this sort of healing movement that's happening right now, this healing generation that's arising, I think it's pretty historically significant, because never that I know of has there been so many healing tools that have been widely available all across the world. I mean, and we have a ways to go in terms of accessibility, but you cannot deny that meditating, therapy, psychiatry, journaling, prayer, like all these different forms of cultivating yourself are more widely accessible than ever before. And this creates opportunities where self-reflection allows human evolution to take this like new speed, this new direction. And I think a lot of times when you know that your healing is real, not only do you feel better, but you actually genuinely feel a lot less interested in harming other people. So I feel like it's really
Love that.
critical.
I love that because I also feel, and Diego and I have talked quite a bit about this being a healing generation or a healing moment in time. And I do find myself talking to a lot of people who are super interested in healing themselves, healing, generations in their families, becoming better parents, more evolved, more attentive in different ways, and better bosses, higher emotional um, IQ, etc. And yet we have over here the world that feels completely out of control, the world that feels violent and rageful, and people spitting things out on social media where you're like, whoa, what? Or, just behaving in ways you can't even comprehend. And I think what is happening. So do you think both of these are in harm? I mean, not in harmony, but they're working kind of side by side.
Yeah, I think especially those of us who have seen the value of healing ourselves and spending a little more time reflecting and trying to build better habits, I think we have to understand that we're playing the long game, right? Like we're not like the world isn't going to become this like peaceful, harmonized, and balanced world in the next decade. We're talking like over a next 100-year period, because this is a big transformation for humanity. Like actually healing ourselves, like deeply sort of reformatting the mind so that it's not just reactive, like what you were describing. Because like what we have right now is a very reactive world. Like you hit me, I hit you back. You do this to me, I do this, do this to you back. And it's this aggressiveness that we are constantly seeing in the media and like in the comment section, wherever it is. I think we have to model and do our best to continue that long journey in our personal lives, allow that cultivation of compassion and mental clarity to flow into our work, flow into the companies that you're creating, flow into like how you show up for your community. And I think in time that will make for people thinking about politics in a different way, thinking about compassion in much more scalable ways. And I mean, I'm quite excited. I think it's tough because you see the world take its ups and downs. You see tiny bits of progress, and then you see these, huge steps back. But this healing journey that's sort of foundational, that's emerging right now, and that's spreading around the world, I think that's really what gives me hope because, like I said before, I really believe like if your self-love is genuine, then it's slowly going to open the door to compassion for all beings, and that will really change your actions.